Welcome to Flesh and Pod, a Flesh and Blood podcast, breaking down weekly news and notes from the tournament scene, community drama, game strategy, and more. And now, here are your hosts, Derek and Logan.
Hello, and welcome to episode 90 in a row of Flesh and Pod. My name is Logan, and I am your host. And with me, as always, is the scion of sickness, the man who has decided to corner the market on sinus infections, Derek Oswald. Derek, I hate to ask. I loathe to ask this question, but it's my job. What, if anything, did you get up to in Flesh and Blood this week?
I have a license to ill, and so I used said license to get sick. My kids went back to school last week, and like clockwork, anytime they return to school after a break, whether it's summer break or there will be a time in October when they have a week off, they will go back to school. I will get sick. January, after the winter break, they will go back to school. I will get sick. It's like clockwork. So they went back to school this week, and then I got a sinus infection. So I did not partake in any Flesh and Blood activities, which makes me sad because there was a weekend event that I actually could have attended this time, but I would have felt bad getting others sick. But I have moved around stuff this week. So I currently have my Armory day free, and I am crossing my fingers that I will be able to go and actually sit down and play some Flesh and Blood. Also, here's the thing. When I do play Flesh and Blood this week, and I'm going to, one way or the other, next week when you ask me, I'm going to tell you that I also did nothing because somebody I saw in the YouTube comments was like, hey, he really needs to play Flesh and Blood. It's been too long. And it's like, yeah, I know. Like I'm the one missing out on all the fun. I'm very aware of how little fun I'm having. This isn't me like abdicating responsibilities. This is me not getting to have fun. So yeah, I'm very aware.
Yeah. I saw that one. I was like, weird flex, but okay.
Yeah.
It's not like he doesn't desire to play Flesh and Blood. It's just it doesn't always line up. That's all there is to it. There's just so much to unpack there. I don't even know what to do with it. I actually did play Flesh and Blood for the first time in several weeks. I played 2 armories. Both of them were classic constructed. Both of them I just played Briar because I was being lazy. I'm going to go and, go on a little bit of a tangent again. But go fuck yourself. But
no, that was an uh-oh for me. I was about to start coughing.
Okay. All right. I thought you were talking shit about my tangent. That's fine.
No,
but
I would never say something bad about your tangerine.
You know what? I'm not going to say that because I'm not ready to be canceled, but I'm accepting cancellation when it does happen. No, I went and I played Briar in both. And honestly, I played those decks knowingly, played Briar, making bad decisions because I'm like, I chose to do what would entertain me more versus what is the correct thing to do. And in almost every instance that I played that way, I just lost because, when you roll the dice, the house has the odds, right? And that's not the play I would have made in an actual match, in a match that I felt like it mattered. And then I kind of like had to take a minute back and like go, why would I do that? Like, what is stopping me? And this isn't against like new players or anything like that. This is against, people that play the game on a regular basis. And I'm just like, why would I just go, fuck it, roll the bones and see what happens? And I'm like, because I'm bored, because I don't feel like I have any real affinity. Affinity is the wrong word. I love affinity. I played that in Magic forever. It's more of I don't feel like playing optimally here is as much fun as just throwing shit at the wall and what sticks, and see what sticks. And like when I did that, it was like I had to kind of withdraw and go, why do I feel that way? Like what makes me feel like I don't want to play to win? I want, and that made me like take a step back, and it's like the answer was because I fucking don't have anything to play for. I really don't. There's no reason for me to be better at Briar right now. There's no reason for me to find the best X deck because I'm not. There's nothing for me to do. There's nothing for me to play for. There's nothing for me to care about. And is that
Well, there is
a
something for you to care about, though.
well? You
No. But the thing is, you've already properly identified it. You just don't know it. The important thing to care about is your fun. Like, are you having a good time? It
that's
is
the
a
end of it,
game.
right?
It is your hobby. And so
Yeah.
there have been plenty of times in my life where I've played card games competitively, and then I went on a downswing and I just decided, you know what? Instead, I'm going to create my own white whale. I'm going to Ahab at something for novelty and chase it. Like sometimes that's the most fun I've actually had in games, when I kind of create this weird mini game within a game where it's like, just as an example, in Flesh and Blood, it might be like, hey, I know I'm gonna like lose a bunch of games, but I want to assemble the mechanoid, right? Like I
Sure.
want to do that. That's my goal, right? I don't care as much about wins or losses. I care more about the experience, and that's what I want to do. And there's all sorts of, I think, cool ways you can do that in Flesh and Blood. For a bit, I was on this thing where my goal was to use the codexes to try to stick somebody's arsenal, like with one of the fabled gems, so that they,
right, like gem them.
yeah, so that they couldn't
Drop a
do
gem
anything,
on 'em?
right? So
Yeah.
just like weird little things like that can sometimes
We call that
just
the mob
be a ton
thief.
of fun.
No, you're right, and that was it, right? And that's that was where I wound up, was because I don't have anything to prepare for. The only thing I can try to do is have fun. Packs don't matter to me. I don't give a shit.
Must be nice.
Okay, great. I don't give a shit about winning packs. I'll pop them. If there's something cool, I'll keep it. Otherwise, I give it to somebody. Like when I was playing on Saturday, I opened my prize packs and I saw nothing. And so that I needed, like no majestics that I needed, no rares that I needed, no foils that I needed. I just handed it off to a new player because those mean nothing to me. Stone fucking nothing. But like the Thursday Armory, I popped my pack or my packs or whatever. I think there was 2 or 3, and I opened a cold foil Decimator Great X or whatever, and I didn't have a cold foil yet, so I kept that, and then I shipped the rest of it because I just don't give a shit. And that feels good still. It feels good to give back. So like when I was playing a player who was very new, and I won, even though I played fast and loose. But I explained the entire way what was happening with the game so they'd have a better understanding of how the game works, right? And then I said, here's what's going to happen. Stay here after the last round is done and hang out, and then people will open their packs and they're going to give you for free everything that they don't want to keep. And then the next time you're going to be at an event, Thursday, Friday, or Thursday or Saturday, whatever it is, I want you, here are the Discords, and put them in our Discords, and said, I want you to message me that you're going to be there, and I'm going to bring you boxes of cards for free. You owe me nothing. I want nothing in return. And I want you to take these so you stop playing blue Sink Belows in your fucking deck. And they're like, why would you do that? And it's like, because I'd rather have you keep playing. At the end of the day, I want you to be a member of this community and keep playing the game that we all love. And if the gate that's keeping you out of this is card availability, I will fix it. So put that on me. Tell me you're going to be there, and I will 100% take care of it. And they're like, okay, that's awesome. Thank you. And I'm like, great. If I bought a new player at that point, going to that armory is so worth it. It is the most worth it. If somebody was just like, you know what? I'm going to show up at the next event. I won. I 12-0'd that armory. I don't give a shit. If I made one person's day better, I have done my job. And that's it. That is full stop. And that's what brought me back. That's what made me relearn what this game means to me. And it means to me that we get to build this community. It means we get to build on people and create enjoyment for people and bring them into the fold, because this game is super inclusive, and anybody that isn't, we just yeet into the fucking sun. That's just the way it is. And that made me happy. That's what brought me back. So for all the Debbie Downer shit that you've heard me talking in the last couple weeks, baby, I'm back. I got it. I found my groove again. Stella got her groove back, and I'm ready to kick back into full gear. So you can thank, they have a really awkward name, so I'm going to go find it here so that I'm not misquoting them. But they entered the servers of the Flesh. They entered the Flesh and Pod server, which is on their, that's on them. But Dokomoy, you did it. You really did. You brought me back. You made me think about this in the way I should have been thinking about it in the first place again. And I appreciate it. And thank you. That's it. That's what I got for what I did in Flesh and Blood this week. 12-minute show, quickest ever. You ready to close it up, Derek?
No,
of course not, because we have news and notes to do. Do you have anything else to add?
Stuff that happened.
Yeah.
I would just say I'm happy to hear your enthusiasm is back, and two, I am dying to be able to contribute in a similar fashion. No surprises here. Like, I've been revamping my office for a number of different things, but part of that has also been doing like massive amounts of sorting, and I have realized I've got a bunch of extra bulk, and I've already been contemplating ways that I can hand some of that out to get people more engaged locally. So I'm looking forward to it. A lot of it is just a time issue, and I'll do what I can when I can. But if I'm not stuck traveling a bunch, then I would like to hit that. That's the problem, is the traveling part and
yes,
the casting
it is.
stuff. Like, listen, I'm excited next weekend. I don't have to travel. It's a remote
I do,
cast.
though.
So I can at least cast from my office.
Yeah, the next Flash and Pod recording will be me trying to record from whatever hotel Wi-Fi is in New Orleans. And I really hope that a ghost has decided to accompany me from the bar back to the recording. Because my goal in New Orleans is to get hammered with ghosts, because that sounds awesome.
Yeah, I mean, New Orleans is Ghost City. It's one of my favorites for the spooky. So
yeah, I'm super in. I do need to make one slight confession, though. I played not a ton. I played like 4 games of Lorcana over the weekend.
Okay.
I will say that I enjoyed myself. Now, I want to be very clear. I did not enjoy playing Lorcana. I enjoyed the enthusiasm of the person across the table from me that I was playing Lorcana with. Right. And I sat there and I listened to Zach Cash, friend of the show, friend of humanity, and my buddy Joe, who is keeping me from going to nationals in Las Vegas to attend his wedding in New Orleans, talk about how, and Joe is literally 7 days to the day younger than me. 7 days. And I listened to them wax poetically about how opening these cards took them back. And I'm like listening to them talk about Aladdin and Ariel and Apu and this and that. And the end of the day, I'm like, I don't give a fuck. Like, none of these mean anything to me. And they're just like, don't you feel it? Don't you? Doesn't it take you back? And I'm like, I got to be honest with you guys. I saw Full Metal Jacket in the theater when I was 6 years old. You fucking think that The Little Mermaid was on VHS in my house? It wasn't. None of this is nostalgic to me. Not a single piece. None. Actual zero. So the game has to stand on its own, and the game does not. I will freely admit, the game Lorcana does not stand on its own to me. It is a little too simplistic for my taste. I get bored easily, and I don't feel like I can be invested. However, I do appreciate and love the enthusiasm of the people it does resonate with. It has been very refreshing. It's been very entertaining. And that has made me actually want to play games because I want to sit across from somebody who is just giddy, who's excited to play. And that's, I mean, it's the inverse of what I normally am. I'm not the emotional vampire type. I don't suck people's, joy for my own. That sounded wrong, but whatever. I'm taking it.
Don't judge me.
And bitch, please. And normally I'm the person in the room. I'm a giver. I'm somebody that is there are gardeners and there are and there are harvesters, and I'm a gardener, right? And so I don't normally harvest. I don't normally take and gain joy from other people's enjoyment, but in this case I was, and so I was really having fun with it. So I will give Lorcana some credit for taking and really harvesting that nostalgia on other people and making something that is enjoyable. So good job, Ravensburger, in all of that and making something enjoyable for the people that it really resonates with. Kudos. That is my confession. I'm moving on from that. Derek, do you have any notes?
I have lots of notes. But
Please go. We're 17 minutes in. You can fucking do whatever you want with this shit because there are no listener questions.
we are not a Lorcana podcast, so I will keep it brief. The game, I think, has potential as far as the mechanics go. I think that if it feels simplistic, that is a byproduct of set one, but I also think that it's a byproduct of people just kind of opening and playing with stuff. The few bits of constructed stuff that I've actually taken a crack at, it actually feels very combo-y. I will say, if you're somebody who liked to play Storm in Magic, you might end up actually really enjoying Lorcana because it will feel like solitaire at times, but you get to do wacky things. And that I say that as somebody who played Dragonstorm when it was legal and standard. I played
so did I get it.
I played 12 Post when it was legal and standard. So
you're a dick.
Yeah, so I'm
but Tooth and Nail from Mephidros Vampire and Triskelion will always have a place in my heart.
Yeah, well, I mean, I was doing it even before then. So even when like Ravager and Skullclamp were still legal, I was still playing the Tooth and Nail package, but I was finding double Viridian Shaman.
I was saying two Viridian Shaman or Molder Slug X.
It was a lot of times that was just good enough, and
no, absolutely true.
So anyway, like I can see some appeal. I think that a lot of current complaints are mostly set one stuff. And so far I'm enjoying playing it with Stark, and that's good enough for me. So
I will say this. You don't see those set one-ish problems as much with Alpha Clash. You certainly didn't see them in WTR Limited at the very least, which is still one of the very best limited formats I've ever played in my life. It definitely ranks up there pretty high with the best Magic limited formats, with Invasion, Planeshift, Apocalypse being the actual pinnacle. And then it, with like, I guess Star Wars Unlimited isn't out yet, and we've only played you and I and anybody else really in the world at large has only really played the starter versions of it, the demo
But
versions.
I will say, when it comes to like limited experience, Star Wars Unlimited looks like it's going to be my next favorite thing past Flesh and Blood. Like, I love Flesh and Blood Limited so much, and the Star Wars Unlimited game, the way that they have designed the aspects and like paying the tax and so forth, I think is going to open up a lot of decision trees when you're drafting. Like, drafting is not going to be just a, I pick my lane and go with it sort of thing. So I am very excited for playing that game in a limited format.
Kind of the thing is with Star Wars Unlimited, we were in demo versions. We're 6 months from release, and I felt depth in the game immediately. And I was like, okay, if we're in demo decks that the cards literally have demo stamped on them, and nothing is really finalized except for, some of it is, but the rules engine is real, right?
Yeah.
But some of the cards aren't finished. A lot of it still isn't completely fleshed out. And I feel depth, even with this very limited pool, that's a lot. That means something, because, I might not have been playing games for as long as Derek has, but I wasn't pissing myself when I started like Derek was. So that was a dig. I didn't really mean that. I feel bad for that. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine.
It's been 27 years for me, and like
you described like
for
2 weeks for me. Like,
I mean, they make Depends for a reason, right?
Yeah. Because they're dependable.
You're exactly right. It's good branding. Unlike when they made S'mores Oreos, which should just be fucking S'moreos.
Yeah, and they didn't call them that. What a whiff! Did not.
And then there's Blue Moon. That's a light version of Blue Moon called Blue Moon Skylight instead of just Blue Moonlight.
Right.
It's right fucking there, marketing assholes. Like, figure it the fuck out. Anyway, you know what? This entire show is going to be me on a soapbox, so I guess it doesn't matter. I'm going to stay on this goddamn box for as long as I fucking want to, and you're going to deal with it because you're fappers. That's why. But yeah, I felt like Star Wars had a depth that I didn't expect. And because of that, I see the pug. Oh no, the pugs are still there. Hold on, I gotta fix this. Closing plugs. There you go. You can't fuck with me anymore, asshole. Inside joke. Derek makes changes because you, the fappers, voted that he should be able to make changes to the show notes.
Yeah.
And it fucks with me because I have a Ron Burgundy syndrome. Well, I'll just read whatever's in front of me, apparently.
Yeah.
It's been 23 minutes now, me talking bullshit, so we probably should move on. Do you have anything else in this opening segment, Derek? I know that we've been long-winded at this point. Last time was 45 minutes, so I guess this isn't that long-winded.
I will just say that, yeah, I wish I could be joining you with that sound. That's what I wish.
It's a great sound.
No, I mean, I would just say that I'm more so than anything just excited that we have a lot of card games to choose from. But no matter what I do, every time I'm trying out the new card games, covering the other card games, I just keep coming back to like, I still want to play Flesh and Blood. And so that, I think that's the thing, I talked about it a bit after Gen Con, right? Like the whole time I was walking around Gen Con, I had a ton of fun trying board games and card games and a bunch of stuff, but I kept going like, man, I really wish they had some Flesh and Blood stuff here, So if anything, it just really makes me appreciate how good the game really is and how much I'm looking forward to the future. Like, I know that we keep hearing PvE is coming, but we don't know when. It's coming, but we don't know when. But like, let me tell you, I am going to dive hard into that when it gets here. I am excited.
Yeah, I've become a board gamer. So PvE sounds awesome. And let's face it, like the existential crisis of the day for me is still, I'll play a different game. I play a ton of Alpha Clash. I grew up in Magic. I played Star Wars, Decipher Star Wars, which, if I'm going to stack rank games, it's still number one. and I can give you any number of reasons why I feel that way. But the point is, it's a dead TCG ish, dead, not dead. It still has a very vibrant fan base. There are still world
No
championships that
longer
happen.
active developer support.
No longer printed for sale. That's what
Right.
I'll say. Again, I played Magic forever, and so if I were going to stack rank the card games that I've played in my life, the sad part, I mean, not sad, I guess that's the wrong words. The conclusion I've come to is that because solely based, not any other decisions over what's been done in the game, because of the resource system alone, Flesh and Blood is one. And it's taken me a while to get to that spot, to understand that in my brain can be unequivocally true, just because I think they figured something out that the other games never did. 2 is always going to be Star Wars for me. Decipher Star Wars, because I fucking love it. I absolutely adored it.
It's because I like to joke that Star Wars, the card game, is really 3 RPGs in a trench coat.
It really is.
With cars. Like, I think that's why everyone loves it, because everyone I talk to, they have their own different experience, and it's not like, oh, I top deck this card to get my win. It is a story. The game was about telling stories.
Every game is a movie.
Somehow a real card game.
Every game is a fucking movie.
So I have long said, and I stand by this, that it's really just an RPG you play with cards.
And I can't argue. It is. It very much so is. And so that will always be at the top of, like, a lot of people will never move Magic from that top spot. And I get it. The nostalgia factor alone of Magic is so much. I can tell Magic stories for days. I have so many. But it's also because I played the game for over 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I started playing the game in 1996. The last Grand Prix that I cashed was 2019. Which is actually, funny enough, one of the last Grand Prix that was ever played. So it's like, I get it. I still feel that nostalgia. I still feel that pull. People tried to drag me into Canadian Highlander. People tried to drag me into pre-modern. And if somebody handed me a deck and just said, come play this event if you have nothing going on, I probably would. Because I have that strong of a pull towards Magic still. Because it was so much of my life. So it's still going to occupy the 3rd spot. It's never going to move from the top 3. Mainly because of years. Not because it's so good. I think it's actively bad now. I think they've outgrown the game space, and that's bad. That's not a good thing. And they can't revamp it, because what happens if you revamp Magic? Well, you have a different game, and you're going to lose out. So they still need to capitalize on markets. Hasbro's not going to throw away money. It's not happening. They understand that they can continue to make money, and and you know what? You're a business. Do your shit. I don't care. Well, I just don't have to interact with it if I'm me. It's not on my to-do list.
Yeah, it's so weird, right? Like, I am not invested in Magic anymore. I will play casually with friends or whatever, but it's not my core experience. But I still also really want the game to continue to be successful, in large part because the moment that Magic starts to falter or fail, the ripple effect will impact a bunch of other games that I do love. And I'm very aware of that. Like, if you think that if, Magic was to fail and, a bunch of the prices were to bottom out and a bunch of people were to sell out of the game and whatever tomorrow, like, if you don't think that that would not impact Flesh and Blood or other things, like, you're wildly wrong.
You're off base.
Listen, I want to preface what I'm about to say by saying I am not a crypto guy. I firmly believe it's a CIA psyop for money laundering that everyone else jumped on. But it would be analogous to like when Bitcoin doesn't do well, all of the other made up coins also falter, right? Like
Sure.
they call them altcoins. So like Bitcoin is like the
Dogecoin.
backbone.
Right.
Yeah. So like Bitcoin is the backbone of the crypto community. Magic is the backbone for the trading card community. Like it just is. Like Pokemon does well. Like, granted, there's the big three for a reason, etc. But the reality is like if Magic were to just tank tomorrow as a business and as a value, everything else across the board is going to, because you're going to have people panic selling and getting out, and there's going to be a ton of consequences. And so for that reason alone, I'm always hoping that, you know, Magic continues to be successful. So
not to mention that a non-zero amount of my collectibles portfolio is still in Magic cards. Want to go ahead and point that out. It is. So currently, if I were going to analyze my collectibles portfolio for value, it's probably 40% Magic, 30% comic books, 20% Fab, and 10% other. So Magic being real is still very important to me, because I'm the tail end of Gen X. There is no retirement for me unless any of this happens. Like it just isn't real. And I'm not here to go.
My retirement is twofold. It's move out of the U.S. and then die young. Like that is my retirement.
Oh shit! Plan. Yeah, dying young is great.
The move out from the U.S. is so that my children has a social safety net that they would not have otherwise, and then I just die young. So
somewhere north, so as the seeds boil, they'll stay alive.
Yeah. I'm targeting Nordic regions. So like,
it's a good idea.
Finland,
Iceland, Norway, Denmark, Finland,
Iceland, Shenzhen stuff.
Yeah, that sounds great. But if you notice by the gray in my beard, there's no real opportunities for me to do any of that shit. So it's going to be hopefully some of the spikes in value when I get to like collect enough to reinvest to matter. And that's about it. Not to get too far into the Kicker Arts Corner version of our podcast, but yeah, it's a hellscape. But collectibles have kind of been my saving grace. One, because they bring me joy, and two, because they are to a degree investments, no matter what. And that's
I always laugh when I think about like in Fallout, it's bottle caps that become the currency. Baby.
Yep.
And I'm always just like chuckling, like, yeah, no way, dude. It's gonna be Pikachu's. I got the metal Poke points in my closet for a reason. Yeah.
There's a reason that I have like Paul Dini remarks on Harley Quinn first appearances, right? Like at some point, somebody's going to want to pay for that and pay more than I paid for it. So, okay. Or like the fact that I paid like $80 or less than that or whatever it was for a first appearance of Gambit. And now at like auction, they go for way higher than that.
Oh, I'm sorry. I don't mean to laugh, but I just happened to glance over and my Twitter had something trending, hashtag Hurricane. So, you know, we're talking about the world ending and now we just have natural disasters combining. So that's always good.
I mean, that seems right. Like the minute we started doing inland hurricanes in Iowa is when I'm like, well, I'm fucked. Like it's supposed to be 106 here without like any heat index on Tuesday. Yeah, we're screwed.
Apparently we're done. A magnitude 5.0 earthquake in California while they're still dealing with the hurricane or whatever.
Game over.
So.
GG no re. Yep. I feel bad, like, because I understand you're getting a year's worth of rain in like 4 days.
Yeah.
Same thing with Vegas. Like a lot of these places are, I mean, that's right before Flesh and Blood Nationals, which doesn't mean anything once you're talking about people's livelihoods. I've been in Vegas where it rained really hard for like 30 minutes and the streets were flooded because their drainage system can't handle it.
I was going to say they have a drainage system. I didn't even realize
they did.
They don't. I was in Vegas and it rained once and it was like, I don't know, you'd have thought the world was ending, which cracked me up. And then similarly, like, you know, you're talking about you going to New Orleans. Last time I was in New Orleans, they had this really rough thunderstorm come in from the water. And I mean, I'm talking like downpour.
Mhm.
It probably as close to a hurricane as you can get without being a hurricane. Just, you know, streets were flooding, whatever. And there's people like it's ankle deep water, and there's just people walking around like it's no big deal because they're used to it.
They're used to it.
It's
What are you gonna do?
stark contrast. I mean, it's New Orleans. Like even on a non-rainy day, you walk outside and you're wet just from the humidity. So
Cafe Du Monde's that line's not getting shorter.
yeah.
I get it. You know, this is a Flesh and Blood podcast. Maybe we should go back to that.
Yeah, we should talk about the Battle Hardened in
Yeah, let's talk about
ATL.
Battle Hardened. Yeah, Battle Hardened Atlanta in the ATL. Congrats to Taylor Crawford. I don't know if we call Taylor a fapper, but he's in the Discord at the very least. So I guess we take it. On a victory in that Battle Hardened on Lexi. So congratulations there. This is diversity is starting to fade going into nationals, which isn't great for the nationals aspect of things as we go into U.S. nationals.
I disagree. I think it's actually fantastic.
Bitch, shut your mouth. We'll talk about it in a minute.
All right.
And so we had the top 8 was 4 Lexis, including the Victor, 2 Icelanders, a Phi, and a Briar. Going into the PTI event, we had Will Bradshaw on Lexi, beating Daniel Rutkowski on Icelander, and that top 8 was 5 Lexis, 1 Icelander, 1 Levia, and 1 Briar. I know you kind of alluded to this already because you were speaking out of turn like an asshole, but are we in beat Lexi or die territory?
No, I don't think so at all. And I think that we're going to see a swing back in the other direction probably for nationals. I'll go on a limb and say at most we'll have 3 Lexis in the top 8. That'll be my prediction.
I mean,
my reasoning for this is simple. You know, wasn't not that long ago on this very podcast that you and I were talking about Icelander being the best deck in the format.
Double zero.
So if you go with that assumption, the people who went into Battle Hardened Atlanta said, okay, well, how do you beat Icelander? You play an aggressive deck, and Lexi is widely seen as the best aggressive deck. So this was people targeting what they expected to be the best deck in the format. And so even with the targeting, we had Icelanders show up in the top 8s anyway, so it's still very strong. But what has me excited is that we also saw some of the outliers. So both top 8s had at least 1 Briar, kind of reminding us that, you know, turns out that hero is close to living legend for a reason.
We'll point out that the Battle Hardened, it was Fatigue Briar.
Yep, Fatigue Briar. But hey, you know what? I still think Crown is a good card, and so
sure is.
Why not? But also like the Phi, I felt like it looked like a lot of fun on the broadcast. Maybe that'll inspire people to go back and retest that. There was a very short bit, some might even say a flash in the pan or use some other fire-based pun, but there was a short bit where Fire was widely considered the best deck in the format, and it certainly has a lot of gas. So I think that it could be very viable. Levia, again, we've kind of talked off and on about it being a potential sleeper. So I feel like seeing the Phi do well, seeing the Levia do well, maybe people give it a go, but I don't panic when I see these Lexi numbers, because everyone kind of thought, all right, if I need to beat Icelander, what do? I jump on Lexi. So now, right, everyone's going to look at this going into nationals and say, okay, well, now what do I need to do? I need to beat Lexi. So there's going to be another overcorrection in the other direction. And so I think things will even out. We're just seeing a wave, and it's just that, 2 weeks ago, the triangle was heavily pointing toward Icelander. This week it's at Lexi. So I expect, some more Bravos and Uzuris and decks that have good matchups into Lexi to do well at nationals, as well as the known decks that already do well. I still expect Lexi to do well. I still expect Icelander to do well. Like, it would not shock me if the top 8 for nationals ends up being like 3 Lexi, 2 Icelander, 1 Uzuri, 1 Bravo, and then 1 what I'll call wild card slot. Could be Azalea, could be Briar, could be Levia, could be whatever. But like that's a Dromai. Dromai would not shock me at all. Like I fully expect that like that's what our nationals will be similar to anyway.
Okay, so let's take a moment. Like not a moment. We're gonna take probably more than a moment.
No, you only get one moment.
Fuck off and die. This is my show.
All right, that was the moment. Moving on.
God damn it! I hate you so much sometimes. Let's talk about U.S. nationals. Now, I know that the United States is not the only country in the world. I'm acutely aware of
How
that.
dare you?
However,
that sound like someone who bleeds red, white, and blue.
Because I don't.
Oh yeah.
The point being here is that U.S. nationals is the largest, usually nationals competition, and there's a calling attached to it. Now, this is not to make short shrift of anything else. You have so many great players across the world, in Europe, in Canada, even in the Asian regions that are incredible. That's not taking away. I want to make sure I point that out. However, we're going to talk about the largest national competition that's going to be happening. And in the US, you have a lot of very strong competitors. You have Michael Feng, you have Brody Spurlock, you have Michael Hamilton, you have Mara Faris, you have so many different competitors and different levels of player. Daniel Rutkowski comes to mind again. We talked about him. God, Rhea Adams, Jesus Christ, you can keep going for fucking ever, it feels like, and never find bottom. Matt McInnes, who finished in second place in both events this past weekend, mind you.
Yeah.
You have
which is very on brand.
Sorry, he did not finish in second in the PTI event. He did finish in second in the Battle Hardened and made the top 8 of the PTI.
Yeah, but that's still very, very on brand.
Very good, very on brand. You have so many competitors in the U.S. that are gunning for this title, so it becomes on this. Who do we feel like are, if you're going to pick one person in this event, who would it be?
I don't know. Do we know if Tarek is playing in U.S. or Canadian nets this year?
Canada. Still Canada.
Are we? Okay.
He's going. Sure? He did not move to England to go obtain a third belt.
All right.
I really would have loved it if he would have, though.
Oh, I would love to see. I would have loved to have seen him show off a third belt victory, especially if it's like imagine the viewership if it was him versus Folks in the finals.
Oh Jesus, I would stop everything I'm doing. But the other part of this is, and I know Tarek doesn't listen to this show because he is a man of culture
and a doctor who's busy.
Sure. But Tarek, if you do happen to hear this or anybody clips this to send to him, Tarek, if you obtain a third belt, I will commission belts for you. If you have 3 belts, I will make you fucking belts and send them to you.
I will let him know.
Nuts.
I'll send him a message just so he knows.
I can do that too, but I'd rather him get it from the show. Why do you gotta be like this? So U.S. nationals, not the calling, U.S. Nats. So many insane competitors converging in one place. Pick one. Who do you got?
Yeah, it's tough because like there's even people that you didn't name that I think are still also in the potential consideration, right? Like Tyler Horspool usually does really
Pony
well.
Puddle, baby. Yep.
Yeah.
Love Horspool.
I had to
our boy Dagan White exists. I mean, day one he's going to be great. We know that.
Yeah. I mean, there's that. There's, I think Clark is going, and I think that this might be one of the better metas for him to do well. I know locally Ben has decided that he's going as well and will likely be on Bravo, but I think, I don't know, like if I'm going with like a win right now, my my gut instinct is Michael Feng, but not necessarily because of I think anybody not being able to beat him or anything. I think that it's incredibly wide open. It's just like if I was an odds person, given how well he's played in recent events, I think he's most likely to maintain the consistency. But that, I mean, we're talking like fractions of a percent is what I'm basing this off of. As far as like the American sides go.
Yeah, I understand that. And I know we talk a lot about heroes. We talk a lot about what hero is good into this or what hero is good into that. Level 0, level 1, level 2. We talk about these top 8s and what they mean. We talk about so many different things. And what we don't talk about enough, in my mind, are the players into the field. Who is good? And I really hate this. I'm going to be fully transparent. This is not something I love. Do you know who I like? Not who I like, who I love against a field? Do you know who I think has a great matchup into anybody?
Yeah, it's none other than gay icon Mara Ferris.
Mara Ferris is the correct answer. I think if I were going to pick one human being to be better into the field than another human being, it's Mara Ferris. This is a person who has devoted countless hours. This is someone who bet on them fucking selves to go into a pro tour and not only make their money back, but to come out a goddamn legend. Mara, I know, I 100% know that I talk shit about gassing you up on a regular basis and inflating that insurmountable ego of yours. But the reason I do that is because you are that fucking good. And you should accept it. You should own it. And you should be the next United States national champion. That is my opinion. This is your tournament to lose. Go in there and wreak fucking havoc. Those are your orders. Go forth. End of story.
I wish Pablo Pintor was playing in the U.S. Nats. Because then I would pick Pablo.
Let's talk about Worlds.
Because Pablo is playing with a chip on his shoulder. I saw that tweet about not feeling recognized, and I will say this:
dumbest. Okay. One other thing.
Here, it's only dumb because, like, he is, in my opinion, this is not. I'm not saying you're dumb, Pablo. If you ever see this, what I'm saying is, I think that it's silly for you to not feel respected because I would label you as one of the top 2 players in the world. Period. Like when you look at the results,
no one's arguing that.
Yeah, right. It's like it's him and Michael Hamilton have very similar top end results when you look at big events. Michael Feng is closing the gap, but like he's easily one of the top 2 players in the world. Period. So I don't know what else you got to do to feel respected. But I'll say this: I will say you're the number 1 player in the world. Period. If you can get me through immigration so I can move out of the United States. So if you can make that happen, I will come over and sing all the European praises. That's all you have to do.
The top player in Iceland could get me to sing their praises if they got me immigration papers. But Pablo, so okay, we're going to address this really quick. I hate addressing this, by the way.
I know you do. I'm making you do it.
I know, it's horrible. There was a really shitty clip that was thrown out there that had friend of the podcast, friend of humanity, friend of ours, like personal friend of ours. So, I'm not going into this with zero bias. I'm going to be fair here. Matt DeMarco, author of The Stoic. And it seemed like it was a clip deriding Pablo Pintor, but if you went back 3 seconds in the clip, you understand that it's not the case. There's no doubting that Pablo Pintor is for certain one of the at least 3 best players in the world. No one is doubting that. At this point in time, you have a lot of people putting up results. You have Rhea Adams going back to back. You have Matt McInnes, result after result. Kind of a similar arc to Mara Faris, honestly, where not closing, but getting close. You have Michael Feng is the latest Pro Tour winner. There are so many examples of things you can say about other resumes, but Pablo's is impeccable. It really is. And no one, not a single fucking person on this planet is saying that Pablo Pintor does not belong on Rushmore. Pablo Pintor is currently one of the greatest flesh and blood players that have existed. You could say that and no one would doubt you. No one would take anything from you at all. No one. And if they did, they'd be wrong. Pablo is insane. Pablo, and here's the thing about Pablo Pintor. You listen to this person talk. You listen to them go on shows. You listen to them do interviews. And Pablo is the most gracious, nicest, kindest. This is the person you want representing your fucking brand.
Oh yeah,
he's incredible. Him and the entire Sunflower Samurai crew
has no quit in him. Like the thing that always stands out to me is like, oh, you start 0-2 and then you run the table. I can win this. Yeah, right. Just
who says that?
Outstanding.
Who says 0-2? I can win this tournament.
I start 0-2 and I'm checking the lunch menu, man.
I drop, bitch. Like I'm gone. I'm drafting.
But
like 0-2, hell no.
Yeah, no. Pablo's great. I think that honestly, what ends up happening is that it's a recency bias thing, and here's what I mean by that. A lot of the people who make content for Flesh and Blood, not all of them, there are some great both European, Australian, New Zealand content creators that exist, but a lot of them, just because a lot of the playing population also happens to reside in the United States. And so when you are covering the game, you're very often covering things like we started with this episode, right? We were covering the Battle Hardened in Atlanta because that's what happened in our backyard. And when I travel to events, whether it's a calling or whatever, I'm traveling to the US ones because that's what I can afford. I would love to go to the European callings.
You pay me to go to them, I'll go.
I can't, right? Like I am going to Worlds this year. I'll be in Barcelona. So,
yeah, rub it in, asshole. I get it.
Yeah, I got to whenever I can. But my point is that when you do these things and you're somebody who is having these discussions, it's very easy to have fresh on your mind, like tip of your tongue sort of thing, the people that you most recently interacted with, right? It's very easy for me to say, like, if you said to me, like, who's great players? If I lead off with Brody Spurlock, for example, it's not because I think Brody is the best. He's just on the forefront of my mind because, like, I was talking to him, at the most recent event about a ham sandwich or something. You know what I mean? It's just the way that it works. And so it's very, I think, rare when people have these conversations, whether it's on podcasts or when they're making their content or whatever, that they're sitting down and going like, no, I'm objectively trying to determine who is the best. It's more of a like, hey, this is what's on my mind right now. And there is that both that recency and that familiarity bias.
Sure.
So like, I can understand why, Pablo could have a bit of a chip just because if you have all the, US based content creators and they're all doing exactly what I just described, which again is not like malicious and there's no ill will. It's just it's very easy for me to, say Michael Hamilton if I just saw him in Chicago, let's say, but not think about Pablo, who's every bit as good, but he's, across the ocean and I've never met him personally. I would love to. And if I run into him in Barcelona, I plan on saying hi, but it's just, I think one of those things we do as humans. So it happens.
Pablo is also like super pretty, not like Greg level of pretty, but like super pretty. And also I got a hot take for you. You ready for a hot take?
Oh gods, no.
Yeah, that means yes. Okay. This is in deference to a lot of people. This is in deference to a lot of people I love, a lot of people I respect, including you. Flake, DM Armada, Tannen to a degree, Gottlieb to even lesser degree. Sorry, Brian. I honestly think the best caster in Flesh and Blood right now, and Sam O'Byrne too. Sam is great. I love Sam. The best caster in Flesh and Blood right now is actually Brody Spurlock. Holy shit. Is that kid good at everything he does?
I love Brody's commentary, but I would still disagree with you.
You're allowed to.
I think that the best commentator, as far as when you look at their body of work and the quality that they have put out every time they have done it, is Mitch Leslie Uber Shouts.
I don't think Uber has gotten enough run in Flesh and Blood.
That's just it. He just doesn't have, I think, the same number of reps, and he doesn't have the part of the reason that Brody stands out is also because of the reputation he has as a player, right? So, like,
but he's also super fun on the mic.
You get him on the mic, he's fun. I mean, he's just fun in general. Like, again, like he's a fun person to talk to and interact with. I love chatting with Brody, but as somebody who, you know, I watch my own VODs back. I obviously watch other people. I kind of like have a better, I think, understanding of the nuance of stuff. Like, when I watch Mitch, I feel like I am just watching a professional. Like, I feel like he could literally cast anything and crush it, because it's about like cadence and timing and transitions, but also there's this very subtle thing about like knowing when to dial it up and when not to, but also like when to let a moment breathe. And that's one of the things I struggle with. I feel like any dead air is bad air, but that's not always the case. And Mitch does a great job of like just really understanding stuff. So he is, I mean, there's a lot of people whose work I really, really like, but he is somebody that when I am trying to think of like, how do I get better? I watch a Mitch broadcast from like literally anything he does.
That was why I made sure to go ahead and condition that to be in Flesh and Blood, because Mitch has not done a ton of Flesh and Blood.
Yeah. I mean, the majority of his stuff is Goliath Gauntlet. I mean, I know he's done other stuff for AGE and some other things and whatever, but.
And neither has Doa for that, you know, honestly. And Doa is also incredible. Not necessarily with Doa, it's not about letting moments breathe. It's about not letting the action ever escape the viewer. It's about making sure that the narrative keeps carrying. And that's why Doa is so good. That's why Doa was good in StarCraft. He was so quick to make sure the narrative carried. And now, you know, in card games, you get some time to breathe, to allow things to happen, to let another voice happen, to let the moment carry. And I think Doa recognizes it, and Eric's very good at it. But I also agree with you with Mitch. Mitch has a very preternatural ability to absorb a moment and let it breathe. I do get that when I listen to him. Like that. We let the pregnant pause happen. You see what we did there? We got you. We got you to fucking like do the thing. It was great.
That was an ellipsis in the notes.
It was not. There you honestly think that my punctuation is that good? You're giving me way more credit than I deserve.
You wait. I'm gonna start adding some interro bangs.
Don't be such a cuck. I don't need this. Couple of quick hitters here. As we again pseudo intentionally keeping this short so that Charmer can save his voice a little bit, because Derek's sinus infection is real, and I don't want him to lose any sort of functionality in his regular life.
Too late.
But the blitz changes have become a pseudo permanent. I believe that this is kind of the right call, honestly. So the new rules, to my understanding, and anybody's welcome to correct me if I'm wrong, including you, are that you still have to present a 40 card deck. You
Mhm.
can't go over,
Right.
but you do have the ability within 52 cards now
Yep.
to have anything in your sideboard. It doesn't just have to be equipment.
And also drone is back to being banned, but otherwise you hit
Fuck
it.
that card.
Yeah, I'm already
Um,
sad. I miss it.
Everybody was bitching, and I mean outside of Kasai players because we didn't give a shit, but everybody else was bitching about drone Ira, and I get it. It's miserable. Like, I understand.
Then
But if you
they should have done what I was doing, which is then you play Fatigue
Uzuri and
Contract
banish them,
Uzuri and you just banish those drones.
sure. With us, with Kasai, it was like you kind of stare at that and go, "Well, just kill them before it matters."
Yeah.
Is that so
Right.
hard?
You put in red pitch 2 blocks. Thank you. That's what
Whatever,
Kasai-
dude. Don't give a shit. And so when it came down to it, it turned out that Kasai did take the most points over Skirmish Season because with Icelander specifically gone, this is like ready built for Kasai to kind of run wild. However, the number 2 was Chain, which that is the only bad matchup currently for Kasai, as a static bad matchup because it's just better Briar. With the ability to play some bullshit cards like Belittle Minnowism and Seeds of Agony. So it's hard to fight. It's really hard to fight into. It's not easy by any stretch of the imagination. But Kasai took the most, Chain was second, and that kind of tracks, right? Because Chain does have some other bad matchups that it's difficult to play into, because just like Briar. Okay, anything that can slow you down or anything that can race you, and Kasai can't race that matchup because Carrion Husk does too much work on those big attacks. Okay, fine. But I think these are good changes. What do you think?
I overall like them. I think that it's good for the game. I'm also a really big fan of the mandatory 40 cards just because you don't want to create a scenario where you feel like you are forced to run more than 40, because then that kind of negates the intended flexibility of your sideboard. And I do feel like at times that was kind of the case where there were several decks that were like, well, I'm really just running like 43 now every time, like static. So I do think that making you solve for X and having X be 40 every time is good.
Yeah, I agree. Wholeheartedly. I think that that's just a better case. I didn't love the over 40 adjustment. I think that they just they finished on the right side of things, in my opinion. So that's where I'm at with it. But we also got the September Armory kit. So we're back to we still have stained glass playmats. So anybody that doesn't have one, here's your chance. There's no zones, so no one should give a shit. But
I actually think I still want one.
I think I have one. I can just give it to you. But because it doesn't have zones, why do you want something with no zones?
Because I like to use the zoneless ones when I do pack opening stuff, and I'm almost to the point where I'm going to do that more regularly.
Oh, I'll bring you several then. Next time I see you, just remind me.
I know, but they got to be good ones. Like the stained glass one is hot.
I have like Arachne. And
I don't have the Arachne one.
Yeah, I have plenty that you don't have that are right in your wheelhouse. So I'll bring you zoneless playmats because I don't give a shit about them.
I know you don't.
So in the playmat is the dumb fucking stained glass playmat.
And then you wonder why LSS doesn't do anything for us. You're like, oh, it's just this dumb fucking playmat.
Bro, I've given up. I don't give a fuck about that anymore.
I'm just saying.
Like, we're past it. We have the Bologna Archangel of War playmat. This one's pretty sick. It has zones. I do like this art. I think it looks good. With a Break of Dawn rainbow of rainbow foils, extended arts, so 3 of each color, and then 4X cold foil beaming blades, which, I mean, yeah, we kind of knew that was coming. So it's just it's a sweet armory still for the playmats. I think that Break of Dawn, not a terrible promo. Beaming Blade, not great, but it's playable. You still get 2 Bolton posters if that's what you want in your life. If you do, I really hope your therapist is well compensated for their time. But that's less of a judgment and more of a nope, it's a judgment. I can't go any further with this. If you love Bolton, then you need to seek help. But yeah, that's the September Armory kit. I wonder, and this is an open question for somebody that hasn't played Flesh and Blood in 6 months. Speaking of you, Derek Oswald.
Excuse you, it has not been 6 months.
6 months ago would have been February. Have you played since February?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I remember very vividly it being in a lot of pain post-February because I was trying to play post-surgery. Is this what kills me about people who question my dedication to the game, okay?
And Sparkle Motion.
I was in a lot of pain post-surgery, like days out from having a cast removed in a sling, like tearing stitches just so that I could try to play in an event. So I trust me when I say it's not because I don't want to play the game. I love the game. I adore the game. It's just that I cover a lot of games currently, and it's very difficult to fit it all in. And I would love more excuses to cover Flesh and Blood, so make that happen. That's the answer. You want me to play Flesh and Blood, then get me to cover Flesh and Blood.
So I guess this is the real question then. Do you see the contents of Armory kits as a draw for people to play armories?
I do, actually, personally. And I think that the proof is in the feedback that I very frequently hear from people, which is that they get their friends to try out the game, they show up at their local events, and then, they play for a bit, but they are learning the game, so they're losing a lot. And then a lot of times what I'm hearing from people is they have problems, not with the onboarding, but with the retention, because people don't feel like they can win without, a big money investment, big time investment, whatever the case may be. And then they stop playing because they're getting dunked on at armories. And the reason they're getting dunked on at armories is because everybody wants to win the promos. So there's very clearly some sort of draw or demand for them.
I think it's very, very dependent. So when we saw Flail of Agony, it was prior to the set being released, and that saw a lot more interest in our area, at least, because people are like, I don't know if this is good or not.
Right.
We got to Numenaris, and people are like, well, I mean, if you want to play Prism, it feels like this is something you have to have. We got to Hellhammer, and no one gave a shit. Like, just all out. And now we're getting to Beaming Blade, which, again, not a card that has seen a ton of play, and it makes me skeptical. Maybe Bolton's supposed to be better than this, and we're just too dumb to figure it out. I mean, that's highly possible. But on the same token, like, I can see a lot of people just saying, looking at the promos and skipping. I think that promos, I think the promos are a driver. I think they're a selling point. I just don't feel like that these current promos are selling it.
Well, I will also like to point out for potential naysayers that it only takes one set for your Azalea to become Azalea or your Lexi to become Lexi. So yeah, Bolton might not. Sure, but I'm just saying, like, in general, Bolton might not be the thing now, but You don't want to be 6 months or a year from now suddenly needing your Beaming Blade promo because, it's hot shit. So I don't know. I'm always happy to get any of them just because I also enjoy playing at the armories, and I think that it feels good to win stuff, so like I'm still rocking. I got my cold foil hatchets of like Body and Mind because those were the first ones that I won, and I felt really like, yay, I did it, back when I was first getting into the game. So,
and I get that, like I really do. I don't have cold foil hatchets of Body and Mind. I do have cold foil Kadachis, and I have cold foil Centauri sabers, but I guess you're right. Like I'm not going to disagree with that take. Like it does only take one. It takes a Codex of Frailty to make an unplayable hero into a S or A tier hero, using the Weeb translation, because apparently that's what people use. So I get it. Really, I do.
So hear me out, right? Like, it doesn't even have to be a card. We have to remember there's a very strong likelihood that we will get future versions of heroes, even if the current ones are not living legend, just because of the nature of the game. So if we ever just get a Bolton with an easier way to charge or put stuff in his soul, then like a card like Beaming Blade, for example, becomes way better. If you've got, literally you could print a Bolton that just says like you pitch one and you can put a card from your hand into your soul, so that now all I have to do is pitch a blue and then put the yellow card into my soul and turn on Beaming Blade and swing, right? Like, all right, like I will, do that for 5 on my off turns. Absolutely. Right. It's
Raiden exists.
Yeah, Raiden exists too.
Cost 0.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh. So what's better? What is it, 2 for 5 or a 0 for 3?
I think a 2 for 5 because of breakpoints, personally.
We don't have to agree.
You're right. We don't have to agree, but
it's a beautiful part of our democracy.
I don't like 0 for 3, but
On a weapon?
Yeah.
Huh.
But it's not, here's the thing, it's not 0 for 3 though, right? Like there is the other part of it. So
you mean your cards have to do what the hero is intending to do in the first fucking place?
Yeah.
It's like
also,
saying
hold
Thorn
on.
isn't 2 and 2 because you have to play an attack and a non-attack.
I think the important difference between the two, and this is also why I mentioned the hero thing, because I wanted to double check. You made me second guess myself. The other thing about Raiden though is that it's specifically if you've charged.
Correct.
Whereas Beaming Blade is just if a card has been put into your soul.
Yes.
So yeah, it's a 0 for 3, but what I was proposing wasn't necessarily charge, because that turns on a ton of stuff for Bolt, and I think that probably is something that will always require a bit more work than just straight up jamming something into your soul.
Huh. We don't want this podcast to be 2.5 hours, so I'm going to let that go. We're going to move on. Do you feel like moving on? I kind of feel like moving on.
Yeah, I don't want to embarrass you on this Bolton stuff.
Bitch, I will carve you to pieces. I'm doing this out of deference. I am doing this out of deference to you. I don't want Sophia to be calling me to say, what did you do to Derek?
We're going to change it from Beaming Blade to Smucker's Blade.
I would actually start playing Bolton.
Alter the art so it's just my beaming face on it.
Your beaming fucking face in cold foil staring at me. At that point in time, I might actually just start playing Bolton because the meme is too good.
But yes, we should move on.
All right, fine. Moving on. So the 20K Realm Invitational is coming up. It is at the beginning of December, the 1st through 3rd. It's going to be in Columbus, Ohio. Now, let's get into the meat and potatoes of this shit. It is, if you have been so fortunate to earn an invitation, and I believe there are still RTI events happening. One's going to be happening in Pittsburgh in September. But if you have been fortunate enough to obtain an invitation to the 20K Invitational Tournament, which begins on Friday, December 1st, that will be a multi-format tournament. Now, I don't know what the formats are. Wish I could tell you, but I can't. However, it will be multi-format. But like, let's say that shit doesn't go your way, right? You picked a bad deck, or you weren't ready, or whatever. You weren't ready for whatever other format it was. You do get the opportunity to bounce back with a 10K Classic Constructed Brawl on Saturday. That also, the top 8 earn qualifications to the 50K Invitational in 2024. And not if that doesn't go well. And then the next day, you get to do a 5K team sealed event, which also earns invites into the 50K tournament. So let's recap. If you're qualified for the 20K and shit doesn't go your way and you don't make day 2, you still get a 10K on Saturday and a 5K on Sunday. Or if you are qualified for the 20K and you do well and you're playing into day 2, you still have a 5K team sealed on Sunday. Or if you didn't qualify for the 20K, you still get a 10K on Saturday and a 5K on Sunday, amongst many other things that are going to be happening at the venue. Derek, my friend, my partner, would you call this a top 3 must attend event for the Flesh and Blood calendar?
Ooh. I think so, just because I think the side events end up canceling what I would normally consider for side events at like a calling, right? So it's like we only had one Pro Tour this year, right? So it's Worlds, Pro Tour, and then really this, because when you look at prize pool, like the total for the weekend is going to be on par with a calling, but the way that it's divided up is also going to be in a more accessible way, and with what I feel like are higher stakes events on the off days, like specifically the 5K team sealed on Sunday is what does it for me, because I'm a sealed fanatic. I wish that I could participate. I will be casting this event, and so it is, at least as far as I know, not going to be within my wheelhouse to be able to participate. But if I was able to, I would be playing in that team sealed on Sunday. That sounds like an absolute blast.
Yeah, I will go ahead and put this out in the ether. If you want to be carried in the 5K team sealed, Dagan White and myself are accepting applications, since Jordan Kennedy has decided that playing Flesh and Blood is no longer in his purview. So we do need a third. If you are interested, please, I don't know what the fuck to do. I got it. Send Dagan a direct message via Discord if you're interested. And I'm going to let him pick whoever our partner is. That sounds way more fun than anything else I can think of, because he will hate this. Super fucking hate this. And it seems like the perfect if you have an opportunity to troll and it doesn't hurt anybody, take the opportunity to troll. And also, if you are missing any singles for this tournament. This episode will be out on Tuesday the 22nd, which will give you 9 days to go to the realmgamingnetwork.com and use our code FAP5 to save 5% on all your Flesh and Blood purchases. So if you need to save a little extra money, that's it there too. Hashtag no free ads. This is well paid for. Not going to lie. So even if we weren't pseudo or not so pseudo Realm affiliated, and I saw this $35,000 cash prize slate of events, I would probably still say this is more must attend than US Nationals. That'd be my opinion. And that's including that you'd be going to the wasteland that is Columbus, Ohio, instead of the oasis in the desert that is Las Vegas, Nevada. So I would rather go to Columbus for December 1st through 3rd than Las Vegas for August. What is this going to be? 25th through 27th. That's my personal opinion. And if you are interested in meeting either Derek Charmer Oswalt, myself, Matthew Flake DeMarco, or any of the other absolute fucking degens that are part of the extended Flesh and Pod family, we'll all be there. So feel free to come by, say hi, do your thing. We're going to keep pumping this event all the way up to the beginning, up to it happening, because I honestly believe this is going to be the most fun event, if nothing else, that we'll have on the Flesh and Blood calendar. Full stop. Personal opinion. I talked a lot right there, Derek, so that's you. It's your turn.
Uh-huh. I
God damn
concur.
it, you motherfucker. You know, somebody once told me you were good at your job. I don't know why I was lied to.
I am very good at my job, but my job is not this. This is just my my fun, my relaxation, my hobby. And sometimes sometimes I sacrifice a little professionalism just to give you a hard time.
I am very humbled by the fact that you choose to take like 2-ish hours of your week and spend it indulging me. That is much appreciated. Y'all are slacking and we have no listener questions. So we're going to bypass that portion of the show because y'all are slacking. Vintox, Trevor, I am really fucking disappointed in you right now. Like parentally disappointed because I know you have questions.
I'm not angry. I'm just disappointed.
There's no anger here. This is just disappointment. I did just get done with a fantasy football draft and then into something else, then into this. So I've been like, and then I hadn't done any prep work for the fantasy football draft. So now are you
happy with your team?
I am actually. I was in a good place to start. It was a dynasty league, so I was kind of in a good spot to start. And I really bullied the league into making some really bad decisions that made me cackle quite a bit. And so I'm that asshole that will just start bidding things up knowing that someone will chase.
Oh yeah, of course.
So that feels good. That feels very, very good.
I've been part of auction leagues where somebody paid like double digits for a Pittsburgh kicker because I know they're a fan of Pittsburgh.
I mean, I've got examples to that too. Like the rail in this league.
Yeah.
I mean, like driving somebody up to damn near triple digits for Travis Kelce, and then getting Mark Andrews for 40. Like, that's not equitable. But that kind of shit. So I had some fun with that, but then like prep work into the draft, I've been nonstop since like basically noon. So I'm ready to be done. Derek, are you ready to be done?
I guess so. I need to make sure that I try to pick up Ezekiel Elliott, though.
You have Ramondre, don't you?
Well, no, it's more so just that, like, as much as everybody remembers Tom Brady, I think they forget that Bill Belichick loves his 3 yards in a cloud of dust running backs. And
Yeah.
I think Zeke is every bit as good as LeGarrette Blount was, and I think
The
you
fucked
get good value there.
Yeah, the fucked up part here is that you're gonna have Ramondre Stevenson with lines that are like 17 carries for 62 yards, 5 receptions for 35 yards, no touchdowns. And then you'll have Ezekiel Elliott lines that are in the same game that are 3 carries, 3 yards, 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, I don't think
So-
it'll be. I think that it's just going to be, you know, Kevin Falk, Corey Dillon all over again. If
Yeah,
I'm being
it's that
honest.
shit again. Yeah. Or Damian Harris and insert other New England running back. It doesn't actually matter.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be that same shit, and it's a whatever. And so if you have a chance to pick up Ezekiel on the cheap, you should do that. But that's it for today. Then I'm going to do our
wait.
plugs.
I got one last one that I got to throw in because it's a doozy.
God damn it!
Flesh and Blood just tweeted out 2 minutes ago. Are you ready for this?
Sure I am.
Nationals is almost here, and it's time to fine tune your decks. Mystery Writer, who I will plug in a moment, Mystery Writer is here to walk through how to get the pitch ratios in your deck to just the right place.
Mystery Writer.
Who do you think, based on that description, our Mystery Writer is?
For pitch ratios?
Yep, Nationals is almost here, and it's time to fine tune your decks. Blank is here to walk through how to get the pitch ratios in your deck to just the right place.
This sounds exactly like Falk's News, so I'm going to say Matthew Folks.
That's where you would be incorrect, sir. It is Pheno Black, known
Oh, God.
pitch ratio enthusiast. Pheno Black.
Well,
I know he is a fan of the ratios, but pitch ratios were not the ones I would have selected.
I will say
So
that
anyway,
both
we
te-
got the news in while recording, and the
both
news
teams
is
played hard.
apparently
But not harder than Pheno. That's for sure. I just don't know what to do now. I don't know what to do with my hands. Like, fuck.
Apparently, I need to submit some articles. Flesh and Blood.
Apparently,
That's
put
what-
your head on somebody's or hand on somebody's head and push down. That's what you should do.
Anyway,
okay.
that's it for this week.
It sure is. That's it. I'm not editing that out. And we still don't get a preview card, even though shit I say does not.
I'm not even worried about the preview card.
No, I'm not. I'm glad that we don't get sued for harassment. So, we're gonna go to the closing plugs, not pugs. It has been fixed on the sheet. Fuck you, Derek. If you need to contact us, just email us at fleshandpod@gmail.com. You can also come into our Discord, links in the show notes. We're going to give some Patreon shout outs. We're going to do it a little bit differently today because I feel like even our low level patrons need to be given some love here and there. So we're just going to give some love to our Fap After Dark patrons, which are Cinder, your boy Clark, George, and the most beautiful human being, Greg, Darth Prentice. And then the person that desperately wants Greg's nudes, Jeff O. Now we're going to go into our associate producers, which are Andy and Kenny, and our executive producers on up, which we've got Blaze. He did make sure that I didn't need to say the numbers, but okay, fine. Whatever you need, dude. C-Dubs, Josh L., Lance Good Thrust, still coming in hard with the thrusting. Matt Two Tokes, Papa Mike, Alex, Philip, Rich, Taylor, and Trevor. If you are interested in joining our Patreon, the link will be in the show notes, or you can go to patreon.com/fleshandpod. Derek, my friend, my colleague, my compatriot, the other half to the bullshit that I do, where can they find you?
Playing Flesh and Blood this Wednesday.
Bullshit, Klaus. Until it happens, I'm not believing it.
I told you, even if I do it, I'm going to tell you I didn't. I gotta keep
God,
it going
hate
at
you
this
so
point.
much. I really despise when you do that shit.
Yeah, I know. Me too.
No, you
But
don't. You love it.
Oh yeah, you're right.
It gives you life, you fuck.
Yeah, well, because I am the emotional vampire.
And you are a Smuckers. You're a smug motherfucker.
You can find me here or there, everywhere. Best places are on Twitter, I guess. I'm also on Blue Sky and a bunch of other things, but pretty much everywhere I'm at. That Charm3R is where I'm at for like Twitter and Instagram, but everywhere else is just Charmer. So on Twitch, which again, office is almost done, so we're gonna go back to live streams very soon. It's just Charm3R. YouTube, it's just Charmer. Gonna hopefully post some stuff there again in the near future as well. Blue Skies like charmer.com. You can actually go to just charmer.com. I own that. That's a website, and that links to everything too, so you could do that. Other great ways to interact with me, however, is the Discord, because I like to hang out there and say hello and check out the Pickle Posse. So you can ping me there as well.
Okay, so I'm gonna do something that's against my normal vocational awareness, and I'm going to take the Pickle Posse and I am going to unmute it, and I'm going to do this for exactly 1 week, and I'm already regretting absolutely this entire decision. God damn it! Fuck you, Derek. You didn't have to announce it, you piece of shit.
Sure, I did.
Okay, well, it's now out there. So the Pickle Posse is unmuted for now. That's all. You can find me in the Discord, apparently reading the Pickle Posse. You can also find me on Twitter at Logan Peterson. I'm also the person behind all the socials for this show. So our Twitter channel, our email, everything else is usually me responding. So we do have a very brief announcement. It looks like either the 29th or 30th of August is going to be our first FAP After Dark, which is going to be live only, not recorded, not released. And the only way to be able to listen in and or interact is to join our Patreon. You only have to join at the $2 level. That's just a base level to be able to access the live stream that's going to be happening. The reason that this won't be recorded is because we're going to be saying shit that none of us want to be on wax. That's the reason. So if you're interested in us talking about shit that I wouldn't say on record, which if you've been listening for the last 90 goddamn episodes, you better believe that anything I wouldn't say on record is well worth listening to. You should subscribe to the Patreon to be able to listen into the shit that I won't say on record. Just a heads up.
I think I need an adult.
Oh, you certainly need an adult. Greg and I will be running that show. So if you also want to hear Greg, prettiest man, well, I mean, top 3 prettiest men I've ever met in person, be a part of this nonsense, then you should definitely be subscribing and getting in there. But yes, so that will be happening sooner rather than later. And we'll have a date and time nailed down. Hopefully when Greg gets back to me, we'll have it nailed down so I can announce it here within the next few days. So please keep your eyes out for that. Derek, you got anything else, buddy?
No, I think that about covers it. I think we have reached the natural conclusion. I think this episode can die of natural causes.
Man, we both dream of that, don't we?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, Thanks a lot, everybody. And as per usual, as it's been for 90 goddamn weeks, we will talk to you all next week as Charmer coughs into his elbow because sinus infections wait for no man.
Yeah, it's because the drainage. It's tickling my uvula.
It's just... No notes. Bye.
Bye.